Okay, so a new One Punch Man chapter just dropped, which is chapter 174, and the translations haven't yet come out. So, if this isn't exactly 110% accurate, then please don't crucify me. But of course, before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, because if you can't already tell, I post a lot of One Punch Man content, and if you like One Punch Man, this place is probably for you. But of course, let's get into the video now. This chapter pretty much goes exactly how the webcomic goes, and since I've kind of reread the webcomic recently, I can assure you this is pretty much how the webcomic goes, except for like the second half of this chapter, which is like manga exclusive. And it pretty much shows Metal Knight looking at like the replays of when Saitama destroyed those robots back in the last chapter. And it's pretty much just Metal Knight doing Metal Knight stuff. Metal Knight does seem sus here, and I know a lot of people do probably think Metal Knight is like gonna be a villain in the future of One Punch Man, but I can pretty much 100% assure you that he's probably not a villain. Probably, like okay, well, not 100%, like 90%, he's probably not a villain. But anyway, we see that he's just checking out Saitama, and I feel like Metal Knight, if anyone, is gonna be like the next person to know about Saitama's true power. I mean, he kind of already does, like he's seen what Saitama's capable of doing, and I'm pretty sure it said that the robots were able to, have like the strength of all of the A-class heroes combined, which is crazy in of itself. So the fact that Saitama is able to like destroy these things in like one hit. Metal Knight, of course, his sus meters are gonna be like over 9,000. So anyway, moving on, we see that Sitch back at the Hero Association. Well, in the Hero Association, he's talking to some other S-class heroes, and it seems like they're basically talking about obviously what just happened, because we see that in the next panel, we see that Zombie Man is talking about Homeless Emperor. And I mean, Homeless Emperor, when Homeless Emperor is on the screen, they're probably talking about God here, and I can pretty much deduce that because later on in the chapter we do see God, but we're gonna get onto that. But we see that he's talking about Homeless Emperor, and we see this scene where like Homeless Emperor is looking up and like, I guess, talking to God in this alternate reality in his head, I guess. And we see that Zombie Man is kind of explaining what happened to Homeless Emperor and how he lost his powers and just kind of died on the spot. Even though he couldn't see God, he was still talking to God, and God was able to still inflict some sort of damage on him through some other alternate reality. And as Zombie Man is saying this to Sitch, I'm pretty sure Sitch is like, I think Sitch is explaining to them about like what happened to Blast and how this is kind of similar to what happened to Blast, because as we see later on in the chapter, we see that this does happen to Blast in a similar way, which is also pretty interesting, and we're gonna get onto that. But we then see that, I guess, Flashy Flash is agreeing with Zombie Man in some sort of way, like maybe Flashy Flash has seen this happen as well, and I guess that's what he's doing. He's agreeing with Zombie Man here. But then we see that Sitch is talking about the cubes here with the other S-class heroes, and by the way, the S-class heroes that are present are Zombie Man, Flashy Flash, My Mask, and Genos, and the other guy, the guy with like the half red eye or whatever. I forgot his name, don't blame me. But we see that Sitch is talking about the cube here, and we see that Blast is with like some random guy. Like I think this is the ninja leader. Like if I was to have an educated guess, but it wouldn't really make sense since the ninja leader is like a villain, I guess. So this is pretty interesting. I don't know who this person is that is kind of like Blast's sidekick or whatever, but I guess these two were like looking for the cubes. I'm pretty sure this is like a long-lasting mission. I'm pretty sure Blast has been on this mission for quite a while now. So, of course he's going to have some people that are going to help him do this, because this is definitely not a one-man job, because we see that Blast has had his like his group, the Blast group, the Guardians of the Universe or whatever. And we see that those, they help him in finding the cubes and suppressing God. So I'm pretty sure this is probably another member, but the fact that they are, pointing him out here, it probably means he's like important to the story somehow. And I'm just guessing it might be the ninja leader, but I'm probably wrong for, webcomic readers, because it narratively wouldn't really make any sense. But moving on, we see that when Blast is fighting Elder Centipede, it looks like God kind of like comes down to meet him, and it looks like Blast is going up towards God in a similar way that, we see Homeless Emperor or even Garo did in, the when he turned into Cosmic Garo. So this is a similar event to what's happening with Homeless Emperor and Garo, and we see that when Blast comes back down, he's like, you know, completely messed up. Like he's bleeding from his face. He's like completely messed up. So God is on a completely different level to Blast at this point, which kind of gives us a bit of a good idea of how strong God is. Like he's on a different level to what we've even seen, because we know that Blast is like the #1 S-class hero, and apart from Saitama, he's like pretty much the pinnacle of this verse. Well, under God, of course, under God and Saitama, he's like the top of the verse. So the fact that he's, you know, able to get completely messed up by God just shows that God is on a completely new level to what we've seen so far in the series. Well, of course, from, you know, completely different to what we've seen so far in the series. That is not Saitama, just to be clear. But then we see that Genos is then speaking to the other people in the meeting, and he says that I guess he shows his core, and I guess the core is like, you know, his memories and stuff, the core that Saitama brought from the past, and how he's able to remember what's happened in the past in the alternate universe that Saitama time traveled from. And we see that he's trying to tell like the people at the meeting that Saitama is the one that saved everybody, but you know, everyone doesn't really believe Genos, as we can see from this panel where their faces are all like, you know, they don't believe him basically, which is, I mean, I don't blame them, because Saitama is like an A-class hero, and when this did happen, Saitama was like a B-class hero, so you know, it's understandable why they wouldn't believe what Genos is saying. And obviously we see that you know, when they don't believe him, they start talking, and they're like, obviously we don't have the translation, so we're not too sure, but we see that Genos is kind of angry that they don't believe him, and I guess they're just expressing that here. But then in the last few panels, we see a panel of God, and we see, I guess that's the last thing they talk about at this meeting, which is pretty ominous, you know, pretty spooky. You know, I'm pretty sure that was the intent of this. Like, we have like this panel of God, you know, at the end of the meeting. But then we see that, of course, Flashy Flash knows that Saitama is like a really strong character, like he's really strong, but I still don't think even Flashy Flash believes that Saitama was able to beat Cosmic Garo. But the fact that they pointed out that Flashy Flash is thinking about Saitama probably means that Flashy Flash is more inclined to believe Genos' story, which we'll probably see, you know, in the next few chapters what Flashy Flash is going to do. And if this does follow what the webcomic does, then, you know, we're probably going to be in for some pretty good fighting scenes. I guess that's all I can really say without spoiling anything. But then in the last panel, we see a My Mask looking at Saitama, and I'm pretty sure for all the people that know what happened in the webcomic, we know what, you know, My Mask's gonna do next. And I guess I don't really want to spoil anything, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But that's pretty much all that happened in this chapter. And once again, this chapter was pretty close to what the webcomic was, apart from the like second half, which was completely different to what we got in the webcomic. And I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen from now on, since like I've heard that the webcomic is kind of coming to an end. Maybe, I'm not too sure, but that's just what I heard. But yeah, apart from that, that's pretty much it. Bye.